a very small percentage of people are willing to go out there and take a risk and like say, you know what, I got an idea that I'm going to bring to fruition.
I'm a big risk taker. I played sports. I made my living on my scholarship. Johns Hopkins was based on me taking risks, and I was a risk taker. So when I would look at like the Forbes 500 magazine. I'd say, where are all the wealthiest people doing? Forbes 500. They're either entrepreneurs, real estate, or like hedge fund guys. I said, I'm not passionate about real estate. I know I don't want to go work in the finance. So I said, entrepreneurs. And I like this. This is like you eat what you kill. This is like you don't eat unless you kill something, a deer or anything. So I'm like, I'm going to do well in this environment because I'm going to out hustle the people. I'm going to be out in the streets on the weekends when I'm not a 9 to 5er. And I could work at night. I work night. Right now I work. Put my kids to bed, I'll work for 2 hours. And I just think when it's a hustle game, I'm good. I'm good at that because I think I could out hustle my opponents.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow was cracking.
Kane Footwear is it's a very, very unique and special thing, man. Like on my walk over here, well, not walk, I mean, I ended up taking the train, but I was obviously anticipating you coming on the show, and I was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I saw 3 people wearing Canes on the walk from my hotel to the train station.
That's great.
And what you did, I mean, forgetting about like how you spent years looking to create these things in the most sort of environmentally friendly way, which is super cool. I mean, you make these shoes out of Brazilian sugarcane, which is super cool to think about.
Yeah.
Are you like the first to utilize that as a medium?
Actually, Allbirds soles were made out of sugar.
Okay, got it.
And we knew that, but I studied. I hired a group to find us like materials that were renewable. They came back with sugarcane or algae, and so there was no compromise on the sugarcane, and that was all done down. A lot of it was done in South America and Brazil, and so we went the sugarcane route. You know, it's renewable material. When you're done wearing canes, you can ship yours back after a year or two of wear and tear, and you could get a credit, $10 credit, and we make yoga mats out of those canes.
Wow.
And now we're making coasters. We're starting to get into other stuff as well.
I started seeing canes probably in, I guess, like in the beginning of the pandemic, I guess 2021, 2022. And I've got, I'm in this world of
fitness,
wellness, influencer, athlete. Eric Hinman is an old good friend of mine. Brian Mazza is an old good friend of mine. And these guys started wearing these shoes. And I was like, what are those things? And I bought a couple of pairs. And dude, I'm just here to tell you that, like, I love the shoes.
Thank you.
Right before the camera started rolling, like, it's kind of it's interesting when you think about something like a pair of shoes, right? Like we become obsessed with our shoes. Shoes, sneakers, they're anomalies in a weird way that people become massively obsessed with the things that they wear on their feet.
Yes.
Massively. Think about Nike, right?
Yeah.
Like they become obsessed with the things that they wear on their feet.
Exactly.
And these shoes, a story that I wanted to tell you was I've got a pair of boots that I've had for now, 2009, so 16 years. And it's a pair of Red Wing boots that I bought new in 2009, and I wore when building my first restaurant. And
nice.
And I built that restaurant with my business partner. We didn't have a contractor. Like, we built the place, right? And after wearing them through that 6-month period of time, they look like they were like 30 years old.
Yeah.
I still have those shoes. I've sent them back to Red Wing to get the soles replaced like 5 times.
No, yeah.
I won't let go of those shoes because they hold a special place in my heart. And I was thinking, the reason why I wanted to tell that story is because I just got a newer pair of Kanes, a white pair of Kanes with like a speckle, and I took them with me everywhere this summer.
Nice.
We went to Denmark this summer. We camped in Denmark. We went to Lake George and camped.
Nice.
We went to Cape Cod and camped. And they're like the kind of shoes that, like, these shoes are they're a part of the experience, right? Like, it sucks when you wear shoes that suck. It just does. So not only have you created something cool, but you've created something that is going to be part of people's memories.
Yeah.
It's just, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's a fact, man. Like,
that's awesome.
and the reason why those boots I will have with me I will never get rid of them. I won't get rid of them. You know.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Well, we only launched 4 years ago. We launched June 21. We were launching, and Brian Mazza was like, "Oh, I have a fitness event in mid-June. You should come down there and introduce the brand to all these guys and girls." So I did that. I flew down there, and we were launching that Tuesday, like right after, and I introduced the brand. I didn't know how people were going to react to the brand because you never know. You know, this is the first time the public's seeing it outside of like our small circle, and people are like, you know, what the hell are those? Those are pretty cool. Those are cool. Those are awesome. Tell me about the attributes. Tell me about, tell me all about it. How'd you come up with it? They made a sugarcane. They couldn't believe it. And then it just took off from there. You know, it took off, and then at that event I met Eric Hinman. You know, we did at CrossFit in Miami. We did a Murph together, and then I just started developing a relationship with him, and he was wearing them organically, and we said, why don't we just get Eric more involved in the brand? And he's been great. But yeah, I mean, now we're starting to see it. You know, we work with 26 NFL teams. They all buy them for their players and their staff, and we work at ton of college football teams and basketball teams. They buy them. Other sports as well, lacrosse, soccer, basketball. So it just evolved into, more and more. And then we work with, obviously, a lot of fitness. Fitness is a big focus of ours. Runners. We're at the New York City Marathon. We have the Chicago Marathon this year.
I'm running the marathon this year. I'm excited.
You are?
Yeah.
Nice. You got to come to our expo setup. We'll have a cool expo. And then we'll do a bunch of marathons, and it's just evolving, and it's going, like you said, and now the kids are starting to see it. And we launched the kids about only a year ago, last April, and the kids have taken off, and now the kids are wearing it. They're seeing their adults, their parents, or pro athletes wearing them, so they're wearing them, and they love, like, people love putting them on after playing sports, playing hockey, playing lacrosse, football, basketball, and it's, you let your feet breathe, they feel good in them, your feet aren't sliding around. So, when we built it, we didn't know what kind of reaction we were going to get, and it's been awesome. It's been great seeing people adapt it from all parts of life.
You call them recovery shoes.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that a little bit.
So yeah, we see it as a third shoe in for athletes. So you have your shoe you do like on field, or a basketball shoe you play hoops in, or cleats, whatever. And then you have your training shoe, which might be, a running shoe or a lifting shoe. And this is a shoe that you would wear, a cane you'd wear before or after working out. That's, so before, in the locker room before, in the locker room after, you're recovering from a strenuous workout, you're letting your feet breathe. We hired a podiatrist, Dr. Geller. We didn't hire him. He's part of our team. And he helped design the shoe with attributes to help you recover. Elevated heel, firmer base, a two-piece mold. There's nodes for stimulation. There's breathability. There's heel capture, and all that stuff. Add up. It helps you, recover after a tough workout. So it's better for you shoe than like a slip-on or some of the other EVA shoes out there.
Kane Footwear is not your first rodeo, so let's just hear a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I played college sports. I played lacrosse at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. graduated. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to work here in the city, Solomon Smith Barney, worked there for a year on the trading desk. I hated it. I was at the desk at 6:40 every day, and I didn't leave till like 5, eating crap. You're stuck to a desk. I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to do this the rest of my life. On the weekends, I was playing, the Pro Lacrosse League started, and I got lucky. I started playing pro lacrosse on the weekends and traveling to Denver or Rochester. And the owners of our team, the Bishop family, and a guy named Jody Simone, who owns Lacrosse Unlimited, the Bishops who owned Sobe sold Sobe, and they were starting another brand up in Connecticut. And they said, "Why don't you?" I'd go out with them after games. We'd have drinks, eat burgers, and they said, "Why don't you come up to Connecticut? We'll be launching another brand, and you can learn how to start your own company." So I moved up to Wilton, Connecticut. They started Blue Buffalo Pet Foods, and I was there. I was one of 6 people in the office. Launched Blue Buffalo. I was delivering product. I was going to Pennsylvania where we produced our pet foods. And I saw how a company can start and then build and deal with issues from design to trademarks to CFO. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I learned a bunch there. And after like 2.5 years, I left and I started my own company called Maverick Lacrosse. And we made all lacrosse equipment for players and of all ages. And, now it's the #1 brand in college. Maryland wears our gear. All the big schools wear Maverick. But it started out small, and we got a lot bigger. And then a company called Bauer Hockey pretty much bought us. Big hockey company, biggest hockey company in the world. They wanted to get into lacrosse. They bought us. And Kohlberg, which is a private equity group out of New York and Westchester, they bought all of us, and then they brought us public. So I learned sort of a ton during that whole process.
So I want to pause for a minute and just talk about an exit.
Yeah.
Right. So how old were you when you had the exit?
I was 34.
34.
Yeah. Were
you working towards an exit? Was that the goal?
Yeah, I think it was. I didn't know. I mean, I was just grinding. I said, let's put it was after 5 years of starting the company. So I told our team, let's just go 5 to 10 years, see where we're at. And then after 5 years, we were at an event, and the president of Kohlberg, which I didn't know then, said, we're buying a bunch of brands. We just bought a big hockey brand. We want to buy a lacrosse brand. And I said, who'd you guys buy in hockey? And he said, Bauer. And I knew they're big players in the hockey space. I said, all right, let's talk. And I said, holy shit, like we just got approached to potentially get bought by a big private equity group. They're probably rolling up a couple of companies and going public or doing something with them. They're interested in us. We're the only independent in the space. So he's like, let's talk this week. Give us a number you think, that would get the deal done. And then we were still like grinding and growing and not even thinking about exit that early. We gave him a number. He said, give us 24 hours. He said we could hit that number. And we're like, holy shit. And then I was like.
Was that a number that that was like a swing for the bleachers number? Or was it?
Was high. It was based on, 5X next year's projections. It was a number like, holy. Yeah, where, it was life-changing for me, where I could buy a house, bought a place in New York City here, bought a place at the beach where I saw you. Like, it was enough to give me some freedom to now invest in some other brands.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to understand that. I think that's such selling a company is an entrepreneur's dream, right?
Yeah.
And I've sold 2 companies.
Yes.
And they, at the time for me, I sold my first business when I was 31.
Nice.
And it wasn't insane money, but it was from starting a company with $20,000, it was a massive multiple from there.
Yeah.
I want to just understand, like, when you sell a company for a lot of money, did anything change for you mentally?
I knew like people would probably have trouble hiring me again because they're like, this guy doesn't really have to do that. Like, he's not going to listen. Like, he doesn't have to listen. He has the freedoms now. You know, I was helping Keith out over 10,000 a little bit. They were launching their brand. And I was sort of like in a position where no one's really going to hire me because they don't think I'm going to like
Hustle.
Yeah, hustle or listen, and they're going to give me direction. I'll be like, no, that's not the right way to do it. This is how we should be doing it. So I knew I had to start another company if I wanted to get back in the game. Like, they were not, like, where am I going to go work? At a big company? Like, I had enough freedom. Where am I going to go work at a 9-to-5 gig? It just wasn't going to happen at that point. I wasn't going to do that.
But did you even consider that?
No. I stayed on with the company for 3 more years.
Okay.
But we set up an office here on 24th and 10th. We had this beautiful office, and we started growing. And I knew, and then eventually they were like, we're going to move this up to New Hampshire, where Bauer's headquarters are. Do you want to come or go? You want to come with us, or this is the end of the road for you here? And I said, yes, I'm not going to probably move up to New Hampshire. I love it up there, but just I'm not at that stage of my life. And so that was the end of that road. So now I'm not getting paid anymore, you know, and I had to reinvent myself in some ways.
And so what was the next business?
So I started to just see a lot of deals in New York City. Everybody was raising money from 10,000 to, you know, Roman hair growth to all these. And I started dipping into a bunch of deals just to learn to see and how it all works and what was becoming hot. Health and wellness was obviously growing very fast. And, you know, I actually launched a tea business. I was like, I love tea. Why don't I launch a tea business? And we launched it, and we were in Whole Foods, Wegmans. It was doing good, but we were losing a ton of money. Why? Just that business is, you lose a lot of money before you make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's you could lose. Our attorney was like, you're going to lose $10 million before you come above water. Like, it's just the way it is. You take a deep dip, spending and slotting and all this, and then marketing. And if you think about it, you're selling a tea for $2, you're making 37 cents per or 50 cents. You got to sell a lot of tea to pay all the bills. Mm-hmm. So you have to go back to your investors. Hey, we're slowly showing some progress. It's moving off the shelves. And I didn't feel comfortable going back to my investors and being like, I think this is really going to work. Like, I didn't know. And yet, can you write me a check for $5 million? Like, I didn't want to, I'm not comfortable doing that. Because it's just the risk. I'm a risk taker, but it was too deep of a dive at that stage of, you know, and I saw other businesses like making profits on everything they sold, and direct to consumer was becoming was monstrous. And this is a product that you can't sell D2C. It's heavy, it's tough to ship. You know, you're not making any money D2C because it's
tea.
Or beverages. Mm-hmm. So I cut my losses. We cut our losses before, and that was a big learning experience. The next company has to be D2C friendly. It has to be lightweight to ship. You know, it's got to be. Like, I built this whole thing, like all check boxes. It's gotta, you know, be health and wellness. It's gotta, you know, it's gotta be D2C friendly. It's gotta be Amazon friendly, even though we're not on Amazon. But it's got to, you know, that's where this is going. And I want to take a deep dive to see if we got something. Like, I don't want to spend $10 million or raise $10 million to do that. You know, I wanted something we could see in the beginning if it's showing a lot more progress. And so then we paused that, invested in some more companies. I also learned when I was investing with these other brands. I saw what was working over there. I saw what was working with this apparel brand, this fitness brand. And I said, okay, I see what's working. I got to create a product in this price point level, lightweight, shippable, and I love footwear. My family's been in the footwear business since the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So my dad owns shoe stores.
Cool.
So I used to work in sneaker stores growing up in Brooklyn, Queens. And so I understood people's passion, to your point about footwear. They, it's part of their uniform every day. They love, and they don't have one pair, they have 7 pairs.
I think people care more about their footwear than any other piece of clothing that they wear, right? Because like you can have a great T-shirt and that's awesome, but really what ties the whole thing together is the shoe.
And selling shoes at my father's store in Queens, I saw how passionate people were about drops, new colorways, and how marketing worked. And like I understood, like I watched the commercials, and now I learned from my learning there, and footwear has been in my blood. I said, I got to get back into footwear. And then you see like Crocs dominate the space, EVA space, dominate. So why don't we make an elevated shoe in the EVA space? I like what those guys are doing. But we're going to make an elevated shoe in that space, pulling a podiatrist, just more thought behind it, the shoe, where athletes can wear it. And how do we get there? And so we pulled in a great designer, podiatrist, ex-EVA, EVA expert who understood how to do EVA shoes. And we all worked together. We were all on like 28th and Broadway, just designing and figuring this out. And then that was that was I think beginning of, that was before COVID, and then we launched a couple of months after COVID hit. And then, D2C was hot, obviously, and I think I got my timing right there. But
and the shoes are definitely lightweight. You barely know they're on your feet.
Yeah, they're great. And then, but yeah, we designed it in the city. Then we went to a 3D mold. I understood all this from my other company, Maverick, how to work with manufacturers. I wanted to be with a premier, manufacturer in South America. There's a lot of German manufacturing from the Germans that moved down there like years ago. And so we wanted to be the tier 1 factory where I could speak to them. And so that's what we got. So we have a great product that's constructed really well, and there's no issues, and it's been great dealing with Brazil instead of going to Asia every 6 months.
Is there a moment that you can point to in the Kane journey over the last 4 years that you felt like, okay, this is right, this is gonna hit?
I remember when we launched, and the first day of sale, we didn't make enough shoes. We launched June 15th. We set up numbers. We raised not that much money. I put in half, and some investors put the other half. And when we started selling D2C, I saw the power of direct-to-consumer and advertising, and I was like, crap, we're not going to have enough shoes to make it to the end of the year. And we beat our numbers, which like blew through them, and I couldn't believe it. Like we produced, based on what we presented to our investment team and our plan, I knew that. And then we did a big event. We did an event with Quavo, like the rapper, and he saw them, and he was like, "Oh crap!" He was like all into them. He's like, and he's wearing them and everything. And I was like, "Okay, this crosses over to different groups." And then Drake was just wearing them in the city. Like, so you start saying like, this could be bigger than just our fitness circle or whatever, our team. Like, this can go outside team sports and the sporting world, and that's what we're looking to build, is something that's here 50 years from now.
Is that the plan? Are you going to exit this one, or are you going to hold on to this one for a while, you think?
I'm going to try to hold on as long as possible.
until that offer comes across the table that's just beyond.
Hopefully. I mean, or do we I don't know, dare to dream, just get dividend checks every year and go that route.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just tell the guys, let's get to this year, and then let's think 5 years out and just get there, and then we'll come above board to see where we're at. And then we look at 5-year cycles, and so we'll see where we're at in 5 years from now, and just see where we're at, and just keep building and growing. And we're having a lot of fun with it. So, We're starting to do we got some big plans for 26. So we'll see in the next couple of years. But I would love to hold this as long as possible.
What have you seen in the direct-to-consumer world to be the most successful way of marketing a product? Like, where have you guys seen the most success?
I think working with micro influencers, not necessarily the monster ones, that, micro, working with them, and I think bringing your product into different sectors, like not just focusing on, like we did something with a hunting company, 24/7 Hunt, great brand out of Georgia, and it just you activate a different audience. I think that is key. I think.
Have you felt that showing up at events with the product, has that been a massive needle mover for you?
I think it's very important. I come from that grassroots background. That's what my foundation was. Hitting the streets. Every weekend we're hitting the streets, just getting in front of people. Because a lot of people want to touch and feel it. They want to try them on. So we're doing like the Diplo Run clubs. Those are big running events that turn into concerts. 8,000 to 15,000 people, all over the country. So we're doing stuff like that to introduce the brand to different audiences. I think it's very important.
Are you able to point to direct attribution from those events?
We sell at all these events.
You sell at all of them.
And then we'll give a code. Sometimes people, you don't have my color here, and so we'll give a code, free shipping plus maybe 10%. And then they'll order, and that expires this weekend. So they'll know it expires. So the events are big for us. We have 2 event teams, and we're all over the U.S., just different events, and just getting in front of people. We're a new brand. Like, a lot of people don't know about us, so we have to do that. Like, you can't, I don't think you can win behind a computer. Like, you cannot win. You're not going to get rewarded just living behind a computer. I'm
with you. I hear that.
Right? Like, you got to get in the streets. You got to get in front of people. You got to get, so that's where I built my last company, was on weekends we were hustling and in the streets in front of kids and athletes, and now we're doing it, at marathons and.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're making me so excited, because with Meal One for Kreatures of Habit, it's so hard to show up to events, because traditionally when we do it, I'm in some kitchen somewhere at like midnight making oats for 1,000 people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I need refrigeration. And so anytime we show up in an event, like, I got to rent refrigeration to keep the oats cold. And so it's a pain in the ass, and it's really, really difficult. However, we're launching a protein bar, which I'm super excited about. And that is just going to give us an opportunity to just be at events year round, right? It's just it's getting people product, and then they're trying it right there. And it's not going to require me. Dude, over the last 4 years, because we just celebrated 4 years, over the last 4 years, the amount of times that I found myself alone in some kitchen somewhere making oats is like, I love the grind of it. I love the hustle of it. But it's impossible to scale something like that, right? Unless
you'll remember that, and that helped you get to the packaged, bar.
Yeah.
Because you saw, I think it's necessary, and not everything's going to be a W, right? Like, we go to some events, and it wasn't a great event for us. Just that crowd wasn't clicking. But then we go to other events that, this isn't a good audience for us. Boom. People call, you were right, that worked. Like, we test out a lot of audiences too.
I think there's got to be a Kreature Kane out there, man. There's got to be a collaboration.
You guys got to bring the bars to the events.
We'll bring the bars. The bars.
And hand them out. We're in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And not just, at the High Roxes of the world. We're the running events, the flag football events, lacrosse events.
I think the youth sport thing is a big deal. We were briefly talking about that. My sons are still young, but they're starting to another topic, right? Like we briefly touched on before the cameras are rolling, this idea, like, do you get your kids specialized into one sport and go all in on that? Or do do you mix and match and give them, 3 different sports to play until they come to terms with the sport that they want to play and specialize in. My sons are 10 and 7. And unlike me, I was just an athlete. I wanted to play all day long, all night long. I didn't have the greatest home situation, so for me getting out of there was always a win. But I slept at Skyrink on 33rd Street and 9th and between 9th and 10th Avenue multiple nights a week. I would sleep in the rink. I would hide behind the bleachers and sleep in there and try to sneak into the men's open hockey at 11 o'clock at night.
That's
so
awesome.
I was and sometimes I say, man, I wish my sons were a little bit like that, but they love being home so much. Our house is they love just hanging with mom and dad, that I don't blame them for not wanting to, be out of the house and playing sports all the time. That said, I think, youth sports is so important, and, one of our investors is deeply involved in youth sports, and we're hoping to sort of seep into that world. Because I think, when we think about nutrition, not every parent is thinking about what fuel am I giving my kids to perform better, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think these kids. I go to these tournaments, and I have 4 kids: 10, 8, 5, and 3. 4 girls, and we have to steer them between games to eat healthy. A lot of kids are going to, the fast
McDonald's.
food place. And you're you're a game in an hour and a half. What are you doing? I think, and then as you get older, in high school, hopefully you start learning, I got to eat right. I think it's going to come down as well to where kids are going to start eating cleaner, as is, into 7th, 8th grade, maybe even lower. But I think there's something there. People are taking these sports very seriously.
Yeah, well, when I was talking to one of these guys at Hoop Culture, who's in the AAU, and they go to all the tournaments, and he was telling me, sometimes there's 8,000 kids at these massive 350 teams at these massive tournaments, and they got to be in the facility for 3 straight games. So they're playing 3 games. They got to be in there, and the food there is
hamburgers.
It's it's just not good. Yeah. He was there are no protein bars there. Yeah. I'm come on. He's there are no protein bars there. I'm are you serious? There's no protein.
Definitely not for sale. Yeah. No.
Yeah. He's there's no protein bars. So it's I just think that it's untapped because the education isn't there yet, right? It's hard also, quite frankly, as a father, the deal. It's hard to get your kids to want to eat anything that's not pizza, pasta, bread and butter. That's what they want, man. Exactly. My kids, one of my sons, he's a savage. He is a beast. He's a beast. He will eat anything that you put in front of him. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care if it's oysters, steak,
that's great,
salmon, raw sushi, Fruity Pebbles. The kid will eat anything. My older son,
that's particular.
That is an understatement.
Yeah.
He will starve. He will starve.
What does he eat?
His favorite thing to eat on the planet is chips and guacamole. That is his favorite thing to eat on the planet. Yeah. But after chips and guacamole, rigatoni pasta with butter.
Yeah.
Don't give him tomato sauce. Don't give him pesto.
Exactly. Olive oil.
Pizza, olive oil. He'll have rigatoni with olive oil.
That's great.
But he'll starve. He just won't eat.
That's great.
I'm dude, and it's so funny to see the difference between the two of them. My younger son, who's 7, he's got 3 inches on his older brother, and he's got 40 pounds on him.
Oh wow, because he's eating. You think
he's just eating, and he's just
weights definitely.
My wife is tall, and she's Danish, and her whole family, all the men are 6'4". Nice. So every time I'm in Denmark, I'm yes, everybody's bigger than me. All the women, all the men, they're all bigger than me. Yeah. My younger son took after my wife's genes for sure. He's going to be 6'3". There's no doubt. He is a monster in his class. He's just a big boy. And my oldest son, Finn, he's going to be like me. He's going to be fast.
Yeah.
He's a great athlete.
But the nutrition affects your height, affects your bones, right? All that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, there's no, look, seeing how Dakota eats, and he
Yeah.
doesn't eat, we don't feed them unhealthy shit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't knock anybody for this, but my kids have never seen the inside of a McDonald's. They
Yeah.
just haven't, you know? And that's because I am so passionate about nutrition personally
Yeah.
that I could feed them better food for less money than taking them to McDonald's and going to spend $8-9 on something that I just
Yeah.
know is going to just
Definitely.
destroy
Yeah.
them. You know, you had mentioned like I'm not a hireable guy, right? Like I'm not a
Yeah.
hireable guy. But I would argue to say that you probably never were, and I would imagine that was because I was actually a hireable guy only in environments where I could do what I wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like in the job that I had before I opened up my first business, there was no boss. There was no rules.
Yeah.
The inmates ran the establishment, and I thrived in that environment. It cut my teeth. That's where I learned how to be an entrepreneur.
Eat what you kill.
Eat what you kill.
Exactly.
What do you think the mind of an entrepreneur? Like, why do you think you were drawn after working at Blue Buffalo
yeah.
to want to go out and do your own thing? Because a very small percentage of people are willing to go
Yeah.
out there and take a risk and like say, you know what, I got an idea that I'm going to bring to fruition.
I'm a big risk taker. I played sports. I made my living on my scholarship. Johns Hopkins was based on me taking risks, and I was a risk taker. So I would look at like the Forbes 500 magazine. I'd say, where are all the wealthiest people doing? Forbes 500. They're either entrepreneurs, real estate, or like hedge fund guys. I said, I'm not passionate about real estate. I know I don't want to go work in the finance. So I said, entrepreneurs. And I like this. This is like you eat what you kill. This is like you don't eat unless you kill something, a deer or anything. So I'm like, I'm going to do well in this environment because I'm going to out hustle the people. I'm going to be out in the streets on the weekends when I'm not a 9 to 5er. And I could work at night. I work night right now. I put my kids to bed. I'll work for 2 hours. And I just think when it's a hustle game, I'm good at that because I think I could out hustle my opponents.
Do you think that you're obsessed with the hustle? Like, do you think that you're more like, I know for me, walking into every single day running a company, I am just fired up about the hunt and lifting up the rocks. Like, that is what excites me. It really excites me to just know that the success is contingent on how well we perform, not on anything else. So what rocks are we lifting up? Exactly. What are we finding underneath? And how are we receiving it, right? Like, do you think you're obsessed with that piece, the hunt?
I think I'm competitive. I love the competition. And I make, whether it's true or not, I think it's true. People want to kill us, right? They want to kill my company. They want to kill. And so I'm gonna make sure this thing does well. I'm competing. They're trying to beat us. They're trying to, and I get very competitive, and I just out hustle them. And I love the competition. The coach, I like the freedom of let me take my bets, and then I think I'm gonna get it right most of the time. It's not gonna be right all the time, but I think 9 out of 10 times I'm gonna get it. I make the correct or the right decision.
Do you tend to lean into your gut, or are you a data guy?
A little bit of both. My gut is usually. I'm starting to look at data more now. Like just, oh wow, this. I could tell now we have stuff that could be, this. We could see where it's scaling and heat maps, and now I'm looking at stuff saying we should double down in these areas. But I usually a lot of it is gut, especially with personnel and like hiring people and partnerships we should do and relationships. I think that's all. It's all you got. It's like we have a good relationship. Let's do something. Like so if it feels right, I think that I lean on gut a lot.
I just did a solo podcast episode before you walked in the room about being likable.
Yeah.
And how important
Yes.
I feel like being likable is.
Yes.
And you look at some of the most wealthy people in the world, right?
Yeah.
Not all of them are likable.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases,
I'm thinking like 3 people. Yeah.
but in a lot of cases, they're not likable, right?
Yeah.
But I believe that being likable is such an asset as you are building your career, as whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee. Like, how important is being likable for you when you're thinking about hiring someone?
It's huge.
Is it more important than their performance?
I think
like their rap sheet?
Yeah, I think being likable. We're hiring for a position soon, and I met the person, and extremely likable, successful in what he does, but he's very likable, and I could train him. I could teach him how this works over here in this world. I can't teach him personality and how to interact with others. He's got that. That's the hard part. Like, I could teach him the other stuff. A lot of it's blocking and tackling and dealing with bigger numbers or whatever, but it's all the same stuff. And so we're dealing with pro teams, pro athletes. They want to deal with likable people. And like, one of our athletes is very likable. It comes to mind, Jeremy Hills. Jeremy Hill played football at Texas, most likable, always in a good mood. Like, he's always in a good mood. So now, from Jeremy, working with him, you get introduced to Marvin Harrison Jr., you get introduced to all these other pro athletes, Mika Parsons, all these guys, because they all love Jeremy, and then Jeremy and I get along really well. I think likability is huge, because if you're not likable, how are you supposed to do deals together? We're front-facing, unless you're a finance person behind closed doors, but we're all front-facing. We're trying to build this thing out in the streets and in front of people. I think likability is huge. That's
so
like 50%.
Advice to the asshole listening to this podcast. Like, if someone, if you're an asshole, chances are you are, right?
Yeah.
Because people tell you probably a lot.
Yeah.
And there are just assholes out there. I believe that assholes have an opportunity to actually shift. It might not be overnight, but I think it's really just a filtering system, right? Because most people, when you're an unlikable person, it's typically based on the words you use and the way you use them, right? That's just what it is, right? Like, people find words are everything.
Yeah.
So for the unlikable person, you just now saying likability is at least 50% of the thing. What can you tell someone that, is like...
In some businesses, like in finance, a lot of those people who are most successful are kind of assholes.
Yes.
They're short, they're cutthroat, they don't care about you, they don't want to know anything. They just want to, everything's about dollar and cents, right? Like, how much money you're going to help me make and all that good stuff. Building a company is way more than that. You have to be likable to get to the next step or to get to the next, because people like you, they introduce you. Even if the deal doesn't work with that group, they introduce you to this group. And that's what happens to us all the time. And for the person that's being an asshole, it's not going to work. It's going to be tough to work in the startup world, because you need help. You need as much help as you can get. And your hand has got to be, if you're an asshole, people are going to be like, I think they're going to be like, help that guy. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to help that guy. I only have so much time on my hands. Like, I'm going to help the people that are good people, good karma. And I think that's a big piece. Likability is huge. And so, if you're going to get into this space, I don't think you'd be an asshole. No one I know from apparel brands to beverages to snacks to they're all mostly good people just trying to climb the mountain, which is very tough. And you need as many hands as possible to help you climb that mountain.
Can you recall over the years of being a business owner a time where you had to let somebody go, fire somebody, that stands out to you, and what you how you did it? Yeah,
it's never tough. Never easy. I go back to, I put it on them. I asked them first thing. I said, "Do you love what you're doing?" And I say, do you love what you're doing? Do you love doing this? Because I'm sensing you're checking out on Fridays at 5, and I don't hear from you until Monday. And we're going 7 days a week a lot of times in these startups to make sure we win. Like, we're interacting. I said, do you love it? I said, if you don't love what you're doing, that's okay. Why don't you do something you do love? Let's talk about what you love doing. And I try to like get them to come around to, oh, you're right. I really love just, doing CrossFit or this or that. And yeah, then that's what you should be doing. Go do something in that space. Like you live once, go do that. You don't have to be, you know what I mean? This is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I need people that are bought in, that want to be here, because it's so obvious to people that want to do it, and they're texting you on Saturday afternoon at 7. Did you see this? Do you see this guy? Like this weekend, I got 2 text messages. Josh Allen was wearing Canes in a Pepsi commercial, which was big. And then yesterday, like just stuff on the weekends.
You gotta get some Canes to Jackson Dart, baby. That's my guy.
We love Jackson Dart. Yeah.
You gotta get him some Canes, man. I gotta get him some Meal One. But man, I'm so excited for that guy.
Great. But I think it's having an honest conversation with them and be like, is this where you want to be? And like that's when because you sort of get it out of them that, you know what, man, I just want to do this. And like, go do it, dude. You live once. Why are you wasting your time here? And I try to have conversations like that. I've had to have those twice. I can remember that popped to mind. But I'm like, because you're not engaged as much as this is a startup. This thing's breathing D2C 7 days a week. We got to grind here.
I have used very similar tactics over the years.
Yeah.
When I was in the restaurant business, I had 700 employees between the restaurants. Jeez. And it was a lot of employees. Yeah. And I didn't have years and years of experience managing hundreds of people.
It's tough.
So I was kind of thrown into the den, and I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And so for me to just be like, boom, fired, hit the bricks, like that's just not who I am. So I had to figure out ways to actually make people feel like it was a decision that they chose themselves, right? And I will say the one thing that I am confident in as a founder is 7 out of 10 people that I've had to fire, and there's been a lot over the years, right? I've probably hired over 1,000 people and fired maybe 300. The one thing that I feel confident in is that 7 out of 10 people that I have fired in the past would come and work back for me again. And I think if you could think about it that way, how can I let this person know that what they're doing here isn't working and this is not going to work? How can I let them know that without hurting their feelings and making them feel bad? And then potentially even think about it as in the event that maybe one day they'd want to come back after some time, off. Because I hired them for a reason, right? Like they're on the team. I brought them in because I really liked them. I think that's always an interesting thing to talk about entrepreneurial wise. But I want to just get into routine with you a little bit because, athlete, entrepreneur, husband, father. I would imagine that routine and habits have played a role in your life.
Yes.
What does a morning typically look like for you?
With 4 kids. So now every morning I have to work out. I don't go to work unless I work out. Like I have to do either, like this morning I did 4 miles in the park. I have a trainer I work out with 2-3 times a week for weights. But every morning I have to work out. And I learned that from from someone, a big athlete who's now in the business world, and he was like, I don't do anything until I work out. Just get de-stress, clear my mind, get my fitness, my body where it needs to be, and then I'll start my day. And so I was like, that makes sense.
When did that happen for you?
That happened like 4 years ago.
So, and before that, what was your morning like?
I used to work out back in the day, I used to work out at night. And I thought that was like, I used to go to work, I'd wake up, probably not eat the healthiest meal, get like a bar or something from like Starbucks, and then have a coffee. And now I try to eat lighter, But back then I'd go to work till like 5 and go train at like 5:36, and I was single then, and I was then go eat at like 7:38, and then I would watch some TV and then go to bed. But now it's totally different, and I think working out in the morning is the best time. And so I actually have a Peloton in my office. So I work if the days off or something. If I don't walk, or I'll hit the Peloton for 45 minutes. We have a Peloton treadmill as well, and so if I but my mornings now are get the kids ready on the bus by 8:30, and then go work out till 9:30. Then we have showers at work, so I'll just change at work, and then I'll be at work ready to go like 10 o'clock, and then I'll work until like 5:30, and then I'll go to one of my kids' sports. There's always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll feed them. They'll go to bed by like 9:15, and then I'll do like at least an hour's worth of work. I answer a bunch of emails, get ready for the next day, clear everything out so I can focus on the big things the next day. Because you got all these emails coming in, like, oh, can you help us with whatever it might be? Like, clear those out. Like, I don't want to deal with it the next morning. I want to focus on the big things. Like, and I always tackle the biggest things first. I like line them up. These are the 5 things, and I go big, biggest, big, and then I go after the hardest things first. And then but I work out every morning. I have to work out. And then I try to eat clean in the morning.
I gotta get you some of this stuff, man.
Yeah,
I think you'll
I need
enjoy
help
it.
sleeping. I need that.
I'll get you the sleep too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my habit. I mean, and then, I used to go out in the city a lot, drink, hang out, go out, be hungover. Those days with kids and, my beautiful wife, like we don't got as much. We go out to dinner and we'll be home by 10 o'clock. And that's like a big night. That's like, which is fine. I don't go out as much, which is good.
Yeah, you were born and raised in the city?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years, and then I moved to Long Island when I was 10.
Okay.
My dad's store started doing really well. He worked for Pepsi and did both, and he was a hustler. He worked for Pepsi, had a route in Brooklyn, and then he had a store. He'd do both. And trying to
It's in the blood.
Yeah. And so he did both, and then he started doing pretty well. And then we wanted to move, a lot of families started moving out to Long Island, so we moved out there, moved out to Manhasset, and it was great. And then I introduced to lacrosse, which is like the biggest thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started playing, and all of a sudden got pretty good at it, and I started getting scholarship offers. So, but I think having the habits, 8 hours of sleep is like a must. I gotta go to bed. And then eating cleanly, like not eat. Now I won't eat after try not to eat after 7 o'clock, which is probably a little late too.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn as you get older, like what to do and what the right habits are, and try to eat as healthy as possible.
It's crazy. I have been training. I got sober when I was 23.
Oh, nice.
So I've been in recovery for 21 years. When I got into recovery, I was immediately introduced to this world of fitness, wellness, nutrition. That's what saved my life, quite frankly. I mean, the sober community for sure, but really what I sunk my teeth into was this fitness, nutrition,
great world,
ultimate mindset world, right? And when I really think back on, if there's anybody listening that is struggling in any way, right? It could be in work, it could be in a relationship, it could be just personally in general. I really do think that fitness is just the solution. And it does not discriminate. It's not like, oh, it's good for this kind of person and not this kind of person. Yeah. For me to hear you say, I just, I can't start my day without working out.
Yeah.
It's literally like taking an antidepressant.
Yeah.
And for me, it has been that for the last 21 years. It has truly been like, if I'm not feeling well, I know for sure training and eating a good meal, a healthy, clean meal,
Feels so good, right?
it's just a game changer. It's just what it is, and there's not a single person that I can point to that would be like, nah, that has experienced it. Now there's way more people that don't believe it because they haven't actually given it a shot. But I do think habitually, the people that listen to this podcast probably are already doing the do, or at least interested in doing the do and getting involved in those things. But if there's anything that I can point to as to what has been the catalyst to my happiness in life and then ultimately success, working out and eating right.
Working out, you feel so good. Sweating everything out, you feel like, like a shell come off you. It feels so good. So I have to sweat every day. I want to sweat everything, the toxins out, everything that, anything that needs to come out, I try to get it out every morning. And I love it. I think it also clears your mind. Like, you're just in a better mood.
What I've started doing, which has been really interesting, is I don't use headphones anymore when I train. When I lift weights, when I run, I don't, because it's so rare to get blocks of time without either people in my ear, kids in my ear, wife in my ear. So being able to be alone with my thoughts, whether I'm training resistance or I'm on a run or whatever, it has been really incredible to just be with my thoughts that way.
It's great.
Doing the things that I love doing alone.
Unless you're listening to Kreatures of Habit.
Unless you're listening to the Kreatures of Habit podcast, of course.
But I do both. Some days I go no headphones, no music, and some days I'll be like, I want to listen to this podcast, or I want to listen to this musician. So I go back and forth. I do both. But I think you're right, though. It's something about being in nature and you're hearing the leaves and the birds. It's it's also refreshing.
How can the community here get their hands on some canes? Where should they go?
Our website is always a great place, kanefootwear.com.
Okay, Kane with a K.
Kane with a K, Kane, kanefootwear.com. We sell specialty running stores all over the U.S. And now we are in 325 Dick's Sporting Goods. We're in Nordstrom's. We're in Shields. D2C, or if you want to go try them on. If you're near a big marathon near like Chicago, or come to the expo, one of these expos in Miami, New York, Chicago, Houston, Austin, Boston, will be we'll come to the expo, check out the shoes. That's probably, or where you could see where we're going to different events. We go football events, basketball events, but or buy them online is probably the easiest if you're not near one of those big stores. Cool.
And then for people to follow along your journey, are you active on social media?
Pretty active. I give every month I'll give, I not as active as I could be or should be. No, I just, it's more family and I talk about business and stuff like that. But I have to get better at that. I talk more through Kane than I do through my personal, because, founders content does really well now, and people want to see who's behind the brand, tell me the story. And so we've been doing a lot of shooting, with me and at the office and at different events, and it's we play that on social, and that's been doing real well. But I mean, to people who listen, I know you got a lot of people who want to start their own company or do their own thing. I think the best way to do your own thing is to have while you're in your current job, maybe have a side hustle. Like, this is your side hustle where you bust your ass, get it going, and then you could potentially drop your current gig. That is probably the smartest transition. So you have some income coming in to feed your new business. And then you just got to go step by step. Don't look at the whole mountain. Just look at the step in front of you and the step in front of you. Just go to certain points and get confidence and just make adjustments. And it's not impossible. It's just, and then you figure out a lot of stuff as you go, how to set up an LLC, bank accounts, trademarks, patents. You just figure it out. A lot of it, you could just figure out talking to people, being a good person. You know, getting
Being
help
likable.
from friends. Yeah, being likable.
John, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you you coming on the show. What you've put out there, it's an
Thank you.
incredible product. I love them. I got to get some pairs for my kids. They were
Definitely.
jealous
We will.
of me
We will.
this summer. And yeah,
We'll
man,
get some stuff.
I can't wait to see what you do with it, dude.
Thank you.
It's been an inspiring journey to watch.
Yeah, let's stay in touch, and we'll do this every year. Maybe we'll do it at the beach next year.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be hounding you for a Creatures Kane collab, dude. We're gonna do that.
I want one of these bars.
I'm gonna get them.
Hopefully
I'm gonna
have
get
them
them to
here
you,
today,
man.
and we'll check it out. But yeah, definitely. Let's talk about it. Come to some of our events.
Totally, 100%.
I really appreciate you having me on the podcast. And yeah, if anyone wants to DM me personally, they have any questions about anything I talked about, or Mike, just hit us up and we'll take it from there.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gents, another one in the books. Kane Footwear. I was really excited to get to sit down with John, another entrepreneur that is a New York City born person. We're sort of born with this concrete in our blood where, no doesn't exist in the vocabulary. We rarely take that for an answer, and we grind until we get to the stuff that we're looking to do. And it's always fun for me to sit across the table from somebody who has that mentality and mindset. And by the way, like this, the fallacy or myth that New Yorkers are assholes, it's wrong. It's actually wrong. The people that move to New York are assholes. Most New Yorkers, the greatest people on earth. And I'm glad to say that I got to sit across the table from John for the last hour to sort of cement that into reality. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning into the podcast. It really means a lot. Subscribing to the podcast. What I'm going to ask you to do is to share it with a friend, family member. Send it to your mom. Send it to someone who you think would appreciate this. Send it to an entrepreneur that you know, or potentially an entrepreneur aspiring to do something on their own. Maybe share it with your kids if your kids are interested in getting into the world of entrepreneurship. Sharing the podcast is the rent I ask you to pay for listening. It means a great deal when you do it, and I see it when you do it, especially when you post it on social media. 5-star rating and a review, cherry on top. That would be awesome. Anything less than a 5-star rating and a review, please don't publicly put that out there. You could DM me and tell me how much you hate me. I'm happy to take that. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.